He mentioned the dreaded B word, so we got to go there, don't we?
Yeah, of course. Why don't you take it there,
Anthony
please?
Crescenzi on Bitcoin. In your new book with negative rates, do you have a chapter on Bitcoin?
Well, there's a few words to say. Well, central banks, one reason the Fed is deciding against the negative interest rates because it's costly to banks. It costs 3 basis points per month for a bank to have more physical cash to give to us out of ATMs. Why? Because for whatever reason, it costs money to have it shipped and stored, and that's the 35 basis point cost just from moving to negative rates. Because if there's a negative rate, all of us individuals will say, well, I want my money out of the bank. I don't want to get charged for keeping it there. Give me cash. And that's costly. And there are numerous other factors. With Bitcoin, theoretically, the Fed could shift to a minus 200, 300, 400 basis points because there is no physical arbitrage. Putting that aside, let's keep in mind Bitcoin is not money. It's a form of exchange. And there's 3 ways of exchanging money. One is physical. Of course, we have cash and coins. Second is electronic through a trusted third party like the Fed. When we send money through an ATM or some other electronic means, it's through a trusted source. And third, it's the other electronic source, which is Bitcoin. It has no trusted source, and that's where it gets a little dicey because it's one thing to see volatility in a currency, but it's totally another to see volatility in the exchange mechanism, the way that people are paying for things. And so at some point, regulation will come along. But if you're investing in Bitcoin in part, you're investing in the technology, which is a totally different story. And I can't opine on that, but it does look like Bitcoin is the winner in this game of electronic money, digital money.
Tony, this seems fascinating, and I know you're not making a call and you don't want to make a call on Bitcoin. However, you are giving it credence as an alternative or some sort of digital store of money, the digital gold. And my question is, are we going to get a mass debasement of fiat currencies in the wake of the money printing as well as some of the negative yields, this idea that people need a store of actual cash that's somewhere away from these monetary authorities?
Well, Bitcoin, as I said, without a trusted source, not having the hegemony, the leadership of the potency of the United States, politically, economically, and militarily to protect the value of money is important. Bitcoin lacks all of that, doesn't have the full faith and credit of the giant and massive and potent U.S. government behind it. So when we say fiat currencies, we might be pointing to some, but remember, Bitcoin itself is fiat, and so one has to be careful about that. But there is a notion about Bitcoin that is similar to gold, of course. One could move into it because they decide certain currencies is not worthy anymore, and then, of course, move into some other currency eventually. It's sort of like a bridge. And so in that sense, it has a store value element like gold, and it's one of the appeals that certainly the proponents are pushing.
You've worked at the New York Fed. You have a lot of experience. Just in general, do you think that the Federal Reserve will push for some sort of digitization of the U.S. currency in order to avoid some of the frictions has been discussed?
Central banks seem to be moving in that direction. China is probably the most far ahead. Europe is ahead of the United States. So the U.S. timeline, at least with the current regime, looks like it's at least 5 years out. But the world is moving in that direction, and this Federal Reserve will have to keep looking at it. And as you know, they take a long time to do things. It took them near a year and a half to 2 years to develop a new one-page document, new framework that simply said, we're going to let inflation run.